Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sideline Shenanigans podcast today with Jacob Maggard.
Dalton Phillips.
And as you can tell, we're back for another week of analysis, talking about some more college football. Best time of year to get things going, of course. Before we dive into things, I just want to quickly say if you guys are enjoying the content or anything, leave comments. Let us know what else you want us to cover or what else you would like to see us cover. But also, like, subscribe, follow along, helps out a ton. Obviously, pretty fun putting out the content we're doing. But first game we're going to look at, just diving right into things, is one of the ones we didn't cover. And it was because this game has to be talked about because what was Clemson doing in the first half of this football game? You went into halftime against Troy down 16 to 3. Cade Klubnik didn't play amazing in the first half, figured things out in the second half. But the biggest issue was their run game didn't get going in the first half, and it kind of looked like their first week where they were really struggling to get the ball going on the ground. That's kind of been the issue through the first two games, and Randall ended up having a good day, but it took him two halves against a Troy team that isn't all that great. They're not horrible, but they aren't a very good team. You shouldn't be struggling this bad against them at home. Now, of course, they didn't play a terrible game against LSU. No, their defense held up pretty well, only giving up 17 points. So they still look like a national championship contender. I'm not really worried about my pick there. I think they can be that good. But these kind of issues early in the season, that can end up being a big thing, of course, going down the road. On the other side, for Troy, of course, the way they hang in here is because they weren't making a lot of mistakes in the first half. In the second half, they made a ton of mistakes. Crowder ends up throwing three interceptions. They don't run the ball extremely well in the second half like they were in the first. And they really didn't pressure Klubnik anymore in the second half. So all those things put together led to Clemson being able to run away with it. But Dalton, I mean, looking at the scoreboard, what do you think about this one?
I was questioning this. I know I texted you about this game. I actually wasn't watching, but I was keeping up with ESPN, and I was like, Troy up on Clemson. I was like, that's crazy. And I just like kept looking, and it was 16-0, then it was 16-3, and then I look again, and I'm like, dang it, that sucks. But I think this Clemson team is really struggling after losing a lot of production at running back. And I feel like that's where their biggest struggling point is because you're leaning on Cade Klubnik, which is supposed to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football. He's not performing up to it right now, but I feel like that's something they need to look at. They're struggling in the run game.
Yeah, again, Klubnik could get going in the run game a little bit too. That could help them
Yep,
here. And like you said, they struggled to replace Phil Mafah, who was one of the best backs in the entire country last
yep.
year. Definitely one of the best power backs. And so they don't have that. And yes, Randall ended up having a solid game, 21 carries, 112 yards. But you saw it last week that they super bad rushing attack. I don't even remember what the stat line was, but it was like less than 30 yards against LSU. So definitely a worrying thing moving forward. But again, Clemson is able to get it done without their lead receiver playing. That's another big thing. And of course, Wesco down here, you can see got two second half touchdowns, become Klubnik's favorite target once he figured things out. Moving on to our next game here. This one was just an incredible game. The lead up to this game was really cool. If you watch any kind of Barstool Sports, you would know Brandon Walker is the biggest Mississippi State fan, and they have been abysmal the last couple of years. Hard to watch. 2-10 last year, or 3-9, somewhere in that area. Not a good football team at all. And they got some transfers. They went into the season thinking maybe we can do something this year, and they come out and upset who a lot of people have as the Big 12 champion. And Mississippi State gets it done at home. You got to think the Cowbells rattled them a little bit. Those things are insane. It's like no other stadium is allowed to do that, but Mississippi State's just allowed to go crazy on you. So they had Dillingham on the podcast with Barstool, and he was asking him questions and like making fun of, Starkville, and as Brandon Walker was calling it, Stark Vegas now because of all the casinos and hotels they've built around the stadium. But obviously that got to Arizona State, and they were not, they did not play well in this game. They weren't focused in. They ran the ball extremely well. Brown and Kanye Udo both over 100 yards. But Sam Levitt played pretty bad. 10 for 22, two interceptions, only 82 passing yards on a Mississippi State team that, like I said before, was a terrible team last year. Obviously, they've made pretty good improvements in the offseason, but this is really worrying for Arizona State. If you can run the ball that well and still lose against a team that isn't going to be as good as the top tier Big 12 teams you play, unless Mississippi State really has, turned around that much. And then, of course, on the other side, Mississippi State, Shapen was incredible. 279 yards, three touchdowns. And then, of course, the transfer running back in Fluff Bothwell, one of the best names in college football, Fluff. I mean, how do you get that one? But, of course, he didn't do a whole lot. This was all passing. This was Shapen, Thompson being the lead receiver. And again, they just got after Arizona State and were able to pull it off with a game-winning drive, too, at the end. Crazy one, Dalton. Any opinions on this one?
Yeah, I'm looking at Sam Levitt here. That's really lackluster. I had that guy maybe in the Heisman talks. Like at the beginning of the season, I'm thinking that guy's going to compete for a Heisman, especially just the way that they're going to put. I figure they're playing the Big 12, but losing to an SEC school, and that's a sub and a very below par SEC school
Yeah.
too at that. And Mississippi State surprised me here. I was definitely picking ASU to win that ball game.
Yeah, me too. Again, this was my pick to win the conference this year. So, and I think they can figure things out. And this may even, to be honest with you, a lot of coaches say this might be a good thing early in the
A
season.
wake up game, yeah, get you a wake up game.
I
Yep,
mean,
helps out a
you saw
lot.
what Notre Dame did last year. They dropped a game to NIU, and everybody's like, "Well, they suck," and then they're playing in the national
A
championship.
national championship. Yeah.
So things can change. The season can go on, and you can get better. But that is definitely very worrying for Arizona State moving forward. Going into the games we picked, starting out with our first one here, and this one just being a complete blowout on the scoreboard. But if you watch this game, this was not a blowout. I mean, it looks horrible, and it's because the fourth quarter was so Illinois favored. But Duke threw this game away. Every opportunity they got to make a big play, they would ruin it with a penalty. This game was not 45-19. It just wasn't. And obviously, Duke still has a lot to look forward to, but losing this one and it just looking so bad, if you just looked at the box score, you'd say, man, they got throttled. But again, watching this game, you would know that Duke was in it the whole entire time, and they actually have a net efficiency ranking every week, and they can tell you, how bad did your team really lose. We'll talk about another team later on that was pretty low on that efficiency ranking, but Illinois was on the opposite end of it, meaning that Duke played the better game, but because of the four turnovers, got beat by 30. I mean, it's just like it doesn't make any sense at all. You dive into the stats. Altmaier plays really good, 22 for 31, 296, three touchdowns. They really don't get the run game going. Fegan, Valentine, Lawfrey. We talked about this running back room that returned three guys, and they didn't do much on the ground. I mean, Valentine, all right in his six carries. And then on the other side for Duke, Darian Mensah played really well except for the interception. You expect this out of him, but they didn't get their ground game going either. Very short, and it just happens to be the carries not being super high for anybody. Average is not looking too horrible across the board. And of course, Mensah being sacked a couple times ruins his rushing day. But Dalton, looking at all those stats, what do you think about this one?
I was watching this. I watched this game. I had it pulled up on the while I was driving, and because I actually was I was rooting for Duke here. I picked them,
Yeah.
and I thought for sure Duke might pull it out, and then it all went everywhere. It went everywhere, and it's like once they went behind, it went behind bad, and it just kept like it was on a downhill slide from there.
Yeah.
And Illinois didn't look as good as the stats show, in my opinion. Like especially the score. I mean, stats don't look that great, but like their score, it's you would think this is like what you were saying is a blowout, but it really wasn't.
No.
Kind of a dogfight to the fourth quarter.
Like you said, it just spiraled out of control completely.
Yeah.
This was literally a one-score game and turned into a blowout. So it did spiral out of control completely. That is the big storyline here is can Duke in these late game situations, can they figure this thing out? Because if they can't, they'll lose a lot of games like this just collapsing in the second half. And obviously turnovers is the big story. Again, you can't do this. I mean, four fumbles and an interception. That's five turnovers. You're not winning any football game turning the ball over five times. So those mistakes severely cost them this game. Illinois' receiving game, BD being the lead receiver once again, Barcade on the other side for Duke. Those were the two lead receivers last week. Seemed to be the guy for both quarterbacks. And then, of course, you look at the defensive statistics. Duke plays better there, too. Four sacks, 10 TFLs, all over Illinois. It's just Illinois was able to force a ton of turnovers, gets it done. Bielema has a nice one under his belt. I think Illinois, again, is pushing to play in the Big Ten Championship, pushing to play in the playoff this year, whereas Duke look like they can do that in the ACC. They just have to clean up a ton of mistakes that they made. Moving on to our next game here, Pitt's a Big Ten versus a Big 12 team. And early on, this looked like Iowa State was going to pull away with it. They scored 13 early, and they started to look really good on offense. Had a flow going, was getting the ground game going a little bit here and there, and they weren't really letting Iowa do anything. They had no passing attack, and truthfully, by the end of the game, it still doesn't look like a very efficient passing attack. But they were also able to hold them in check on the ground. And then as the game got going, Iowa football as it always does, keeps the games close. Defense and having an incredible punter seems to always be the way Iowa stays in football games. And in this one, they fight all the way back to tie the game up. And then Iowa State ends up winning it with a field goal. But Iowa State definitely has some concerns from this one, but at the same time, it's a rivalry game. Those are expected to be heated. They're expected to be close, and Iowa State's able to win a close game, which is really good for them in their future. Being 3-0 now, also a great start in the Big 12. Again, look at these stats. Iowa doesn't do much at all in the passing game. Mark Gronowski has been kind of underwhelming for what we thought he was going to be coming up from the FCS, where he's one of the winningest quarterbacks in the history of college football. Does have that interception, only 83 yards. Look at their rushing attack. Patterson, 11 carries, 60 yards, no touchdowns. Xavier Williams doesn't do anything this week. We saw him have 100 yards last week. And then Gronowski's ground game is pretty bad after a couple of sacks, of course. And on the other side for Iowa State, Rocco Becht continues his streak of playing pretty good football, no turnover worthy plays. But at the same time, you want to see a little bit better from him. You want to see this passing attack get going. Iowa is really, really good defensively, though. And then the run game, I mean, they didn't do bad in the run game. These statistics aren't ugly, but they definitely aren't great. They aren't the week one and week two statistics we saw from them. So would love to get that going a little bit more. But again, not a bad day on the ground. Dalton, what's your opinion here?
I'm looking towards Iowa here with Mark Gronowski. That guy was the FCS Heisman.
Yep.
Like he was their Heisman, and this guy, he's kind of we talked about this guy at the beginning of the season, and he's kind of been underwhelming, like you said. And I was expecting him to do a little bit more. I understand you're in Iowa, but still, like you can't at Iowa, you can't turn the ball over. That's your offense is to keep control of the ball, and if you don't keep control of the ball, you punt the ball, like you said.
Yeah.
You can't turn the ball over. That's not what you can do. And I would like to see Iowa be able to run the ball a little bit better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's kind of how they play, hard nosed, tough football. Caleb
Yep.
Johnson last year ran for I don't even remember 17, 800 yards on the ground.
Yep.
So you need to see their run game get going for them to be successful this year. Still think their defense looked really good. They were controlling Iowa State and able to force them into a lot of punts themselves. But again, this is rough. I mean, I think he's under 200 yards passing through 2 games. That's really, really bad. That is just as bad as it has been, and I thought it was a pretty drastic improvement at quarterback. So far we haven't seen that from him. The ground game again was another thing he was kind of really good at. Why he was able to win a Heisman at the FCS level, and he didn't do that either. Some of that being the pressure from Iowa State. Again, you look down some turnovers. Again, you saw one from them. You see one here fumbled over from Iowa State as well. And then you look at the defense: 3 sacks, 6 TFLs. Iowa State was able to get after Iowa, whereas Iowa never got in the backfield against Becht. So he was able to be just more comfortable and just get things going. And then, of course, I'll have to talk about the star player for Iowa, and that is their punter. As it always is, 47 yards per punt, had a 65-yard punt in this one. I mean, that is Iowa football. They're able to
Yep.
hang in it a little bit, but they just can't get it done. Not enough power to beat this good Iowa State team. Moving into our next game here, an overtime thriller between Baylor and SMU, and this is a game that looked like it was over. SMU has the ball, goes down and scores up by 2 touchdowns under 8 minutes. Kevin Jennings gets the ball back after a Baylor score, and it's almost like, can we just run the ball and get out of here? And SMU's unable to do so. Baylor gets the ball back and has that super efficient passing offense, which again is shown by these statistics, which are wild. And they go up and down the field and score again, make it to OT, force a second overtime, and SMU's kicker pretty much sold the game away. Missed a 50-yarder in regulation, and then goes on to miss a 40-yarder in overtime, giving Baylor the opportunity to just kind of run the ball and kick a field goal, and ends up winning it. You go down and look at these statistics. Sawyer Robinson is legit in a Heisman contention right now, and he's 1-1. But it's because he's thrown for like 900 passing yards in 2 games. This dude is ridiculous through the air. Their offense is ridiculous through the air. 440 yards, 4 touchdowns. Really efficient, 92 QBR. It grades out really, really well. And then he can do a little bit with his legs. You don't see it much here. And then you look at the other side with SMU. Kevin Jennings has a pretty good game, 295 through the air, which is something you really want to see out of him. If he gets that passing attack going with his ability on the ground, you'd expect a lot out of him. 3 touchdowns, does have the interception, but the scary thing, 14 carries for 16 yards. A lot of that being the pressure they got on them in this game, but also he wasn't efficient in the rushing attack. He didn't really do much when he got outside the pocket, and he made plays here and there, but that was all negated by sacks and then a lot of penalties too in this one. You look at the rushing stats for both sides. Baylor gets it really established. Bryson Washington, 31 carries in this game, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns. The average is lower here, but again, he was able to just be the workhorse. That is insane. 31 carries in a game is ridiculous. And then on the other side for SMU, they looked great on the ground other than Kevin Jennings. TJ Harden was incredible in this game, 19 for 115, 3 touchdowns. Broke off a couple long ones, as you can see, a 40 being his long. Then Chris Johnson had some flashes here and there. They kind of let him be the passer, catch passes out of the backfield back, and let TJ Harden be more of the hardcore, go downhill, make plays rusher in this one. So you see him get more carries. But again, Baylor able to get it done here. Dalton, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, last week the defense really struggled, and this week didn't do much better. But when your offense is looking like this, your defense really don't have to do much.
Yeah.
If you can trust your quarterback to have 440 yards a game,
Yeah.
that's good. And you're also trusting your running back to have 31 carries.
Yeah.
And if he's getting 3.7 yards a carry, that means he's getting a first down every 3 carries. That's yeah. So you can't ask for nothing better than that.
No, again, this is exactly what Baylor wants to be able to do on offense. It's just their defense is terrible. I mean, this is bad. Through 2 weeks, you've given up this many points. I think it's over 70 points or close to 80 points in 2 weeks. So, yes, you're scoring a lot and your offense is incredible, but your defense has been terrible. You dive into more of these passing statistics, looking at the receivers that Robinson was throwing to, and Josh Cameron and Ashton Hawkins, incredible games from both of them. Then you see Kobe Prentice, who we talked about week one when Julio was on here. He knows Kobe Prentice well. 2 touchdowns for him, has a
Alabama.
catch. And then Michael Trigg, one of the better tight ends in the entire country. I'm a big fan of his. And you talk about all that, and their lead receiver from week one only goes 2 for 21. So if they have this many weapons, I mean, that is 4 receivers and a tight end. So again, yes, the defense is terrible, but Baylor, we talked about how they can contend in the Big 12. That comes from this right here, where they have elite weapons and a really good quarterback, probably one of the best, if not the best, in the Big 12. On the other side for SMU, Romello Brinson, we talked about he was going to be their stud. He was their stud. 4 catches, 126, 2 touchdowns through the air. And again, you see Chris Johnson being used in the passing game. RJ Maryland not looking like himself from last year. Maybe he gets going later in the year, can help them out a little bit. And then defensively, both sides pretty even in the defensive statistics. Both of them didn't play very good, and Baylor's able to pull away with a 48-45 victory. Going into our next game here, this is a huge one. The border war, Kansas, Missouri, these two teams absolutely hate each other. This is one of the oldest rivalries in college football. And again, like I said before, this is a bad rivalry. This is two teams that the fans will fight each other in the crowd. The teams will go at each other, and people don't really realize how bad of a rivalry it is. And Missouri is able to pull it off with a really good offensive performance, coming from another impressive performance from their quarterback. But we'll talk about Kansas first. Jalen Daniels goes 18 for 30, 223, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. But they have no ground attack at all. This is terrible. This is embarrassing. When you can't run the ball at all, you are not going to win a football game. It's something you have to establish to get things done. We saw last year with teams that could pass the ball at a high level late in the year lose games because they couldn't establish the ground game. And when they needed to get a drive going, they couldn't. There was no potential to hold possession of the ball with no run game. On the other side for Missouri, completely different story. Their quarterback throws for 330 yards, 3 touchdowns, and obviously he had a great game. But their running backs were incredible. Jamal Roberts and Ahmad Hardy, well over 100 yards from Jamal Roberts, 112 for Hardy. They have a ton of carries between the two of them. Both have a touchdown. I never expected this. I expected Ahmad Hardy to be a monster. I've talked about him. He's one of my favorite transfer running backs, probably one of the best in the SEC, and that's how good he is. And Jamal Roberts is able to outgain him on only 13 carries. So if they've got this run game going all year, man, Missouri is going to be scary. They have a quarterback who once again, I said Bro Prabula is really solid. I thought he was going to be one of the better backups if he stayed at Penn State, probably the best in the country. So I'm glad he's out here starting somewhere and looking really, really good. They're coached well, and it proves, once again that Missouri can compete in the SEC. Dalton, your opinions on this one?
This was a running masterclass from Missouri, and it shows that's why you win ball games. When one team is running for your quarterback is leading your team in rushing yards with 17.
Yeah.
That's you're probably not going to win the football game. I'm just going to be honest. And then you look at the other side of the ball, and you have two running backs. One goes almost for 150, and one almost goes for 120. You can usually tell by that who's going to win the football game, and it showed.
Yeah, and 100%, that is the massive difference in this game because Kansas actually ends up getting a turnover on Missouri with the fumble by Prbula, but they're not able to get anything done just because of how strong that running attack was. I mean, they get in the backfield four times, four sacks, seven TFLs, and you see Missouri being able to do that as well with three of their own. But again, it's like it's so strong when you can just run the ball, when you can rely on your running backs to get big yards, to make big plays, and then have a quarterback throw for 300 yards. I think Missouri is going to be very deadly in the SEC this year. That offense is just incredible. Moving on to our next one here, and this is maybe the upset of the year, depending on how good, South Florida ends up being. Dalton picked this one, of course, being
Yep.
a really fun pick, and a team that in USF that looks like the clear Group of Five favorite. I mean, they are leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else right now. They have two ranked wins. They could potentially be a top 15 team in college football right now. They have two ranked wins, and one of them was at Florida in the swamp. That is probably, I mean, it's up there with a top five win.
Tennessee can't win there, so
It's up there with a top five win that anybody in the country has right now.
yeah,
So this USF team, they are coached extremely well. Alex Golesh, one of the best coaches in college football currently, and he is going to get a big time job next year if he wants one. There is going to be plenty of teams that will fire their coach and look at him. Hey, right here, buddy, on the other side of the ball, you might see
yeah,
the coach get
yeah.
fired. He might
He might
just
be staying in Florida.
you might just stay in the state of Florida and head over there because they just saw what he can do. And guess who comes with him? This guy and Byron Brown. This is a guy that in the current Heisman poll is sitting in the top five. This is unreal. I mean, this is what Ashton Jeanty was doing last year at Boise State, carrying a Group of Five team. Byron Brown, 263 through the air and 66 yards on the ground. He is their offense. I mean, he is single-handedly their offense, and he is that good that he's able to get things going and have big play after big play after big play. And when they needed him most, he takes his team all the way down the field, puts them on the goal line, and they kick a field goal to win the game. So it is very apparent that this guy right here can win a Heisman. That is not a joke. He is that good of a quarterback at a Group of Five school. On the other side for Florida, I mean, Lagway has a decent game, 23 for 33, 222, a touchdown interception. He gets nothing going on the ground, which is kind of crazy with how good of an athlete he is. But they are able to get Jaden Bogg going, 18 for 93, establish a pretty good run game. It's just things didn't go their way, and South Florida capitalized any mistakes that Florida made, and they didn't make any of their own. So they get things done with a really, really impressive road victory. Dalton, what do you think here?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite picks I've ever had. I was very excited to see that I pulled through with this one. I really believed in the South Florida team. They look the part, and I believe this is a top 15 football team. I mean, and I would not have said that at the beginning of the season. And I'm looking at them now, and guess who they're above? And I love it, Alabama. I love that. I'm very impressed, and I'm really not on the DJ Lagway hype train like everybody else was at the beginning of the year. All these people were like talking this guy's going to contend for a Heisman and stuff. I'm not big on him.
Yeah, I think he needs more time. I mean,
It could be because Florida, though. I hate Florida. So,
yeah, well, yeah, you
yeah,
could, yeah, you're a big rivalry there.
yeah,
But I do think Lagway needs more time. I think with the injury he faced last year, when he was playing, he was really good. I think they were 7-1 or 8-1 with Lagway, and then they lost without him. So obviously he is a key cog that makes this machine turn. But the big thing is he hasn't played much college football yet. This is still not a full season worth of starts. So he just doesn't look like he is a high level quarterback yet. And there's things he needs to do to figure things out. He needs to get the ground game going a little bit, avoid some sacks, and do a little bit better with his decision making in the passing game. You look down the list. A guy that I mentioned last week when I was recapping this and you weren't with me, Chaz Nimrod was their lead receiver last week. You obviously know that name coming over from Tennessee. And he had some plays last week where they overthrew him a couple times. He could have well over 100 yards. And he wasn't even used as the star receiver in this one. It went to Keyshawn Singleton, Alvin Isaac. So you see the ability to have multiple different weapons that they can use. And Byron Brown, once again, is able to find his targets and make plays. And that's why they were able to win this game. Of course, the defense from both sides, relatively similar, one sack apiece. And USF was able to just break up the run game a little bit more with 7 TFLs. But wow, what a victory for USF. And it will probably go down as one of the single biggest wins in this college football season. Moving on to our next one here, Western Kentucky goes in, plays Toledo after starting 2-0 and looking really good, and they get blown out of the water. Toledo looked like that kind of team that can push in the group of five, obviously well behind USF and probably well behind UNLV too, as we'll talk about them in just a minute. But Toledo it is looked kind of like they were supposed to look in this one. They were able to just fire on all cylinders on offense and make really good stops against an offense in Western Kentucky who had thrown for over 400 yards 2 straight weeks. Maverick McIver goes 23 for 38, 235, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He comes back down to earth from the first 2 games he had where he was just unreal and hadn't thrown a pick and had like I said 800 passing yards. And you say, hey, wait a minute, Western Kentucky ain't as good as they were. I was still high on Western Kentucky, and I think both of us ended up picking them. And I was excited to watch them play. So yeah, they didn't get things done here, but they still have a lot ahead of them. But you can't really put it on McIver. And the issue is no rushing attack at all, and they use multiple different backs, and none of them can do anything. And also, he has negative 14 yards, meaning he was put on his back a lot in this game, and your offensive line can't block for you. That's an issue. On the other side for Toledo, Tucker Gleason, returning quarterback from last year. I'm not sure how the situation happened, but John Allen Richard ends up coming in and playing this one. I don't know if Gleason was facing injury or if he was just pulled from this one. I doubt it with how well he played. So I'm assuming that potentially injury or even maybe the score is why he came in. Yeah, it was 100% the score because if you go look at the board here, it was a large blowout until the fourth quarter. So Richard gets to play a little bit. Didn't look great in his time on the field. But the big star players, Chip Trayanum, 14 for 163, 2 touchdowns. Unreal game from him at running back. Completely outclassed Western Kentucky, almost tripling their rushing statistics. Obviously, the reason they were able to get it done. Dalton, what's your opinions here?
This is another case of the run game. If you look over here, you got 300 rushing yards on one team, and then you go to this other one and you've got 59. That's what wins football games. That's why I love covering running backs. That's in my opinion, college football is the greatest. That's the reason I don't like the NFL that much. I love watching good run games, and in college football is a good example of that.
Yeah,
Even though this WKU team really is a pass first offense,
super
they
fast.
very much so. They're more of an air raid team. They still need to establish that because you can't pass the ball as much as they do without having a little bit of a running game.
Yeah, again, they had Bailey Zappi a few years ago, who's a
Yeah,
time leader in passing yards in college football. So
yeah.
they want to pass the ball. I mean, they definitely want to pass the ball. They were unable to get things done this game and just completely outclassed by Toledo, who is really well coached, but also one of the best non-power schools roster-wise, and they were able to return a lot of talent. Obviously boosted them up this year. Moving on to our next game here, Michigan on the road going to play the Boomer Sooners, and Oklahoma just clearly looked like the better football team in this one. Michigan is able to put together a really good third quarter, but other than that, Oklahoma controlled the game. You go look at the statistics. Bryce Underwood has his freshman collapse, and that is expected. This is a freshman playing in an SEC environment for his first real game. I mean, there's nothing you can get out of that. And again, 9 for 24 is really ugly, but he doesn't throw an interception or anything like that, so that's solid. 142 through the air, maybe throwing the ball just a little bit too much because Justice Haynes has a really nice day on the ground. 19 for 125 and a touchdown. I'd say Alabama wishes they had him right now
Yeah.
with how bad their rushing attack was in week one. And obviously one of the biggest transfer running backs in the portal this time through the cycle, and he goes over to Michigan and has succeeded extremely well through the first 2 games. And on the other side for Oklahoma, this is a guy in John Mateer who is a clear Heisman frontrunner to me. He is in that group of 4 guys that are going to be going and being in that conversation as the year goes on. Oklahoma does look really good. Mateer makes the one mistake, but he still accounts for 270 passing yards and 74 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground and a touchdown through the air. He was their offense. And once again, he is legit. I don't know if you watch this guy play, but this dude makes play after play after play. Every time they're in the backfield, he seems to be able to get out of it and make something happen. So again, this is one of my favorite players in college football. Again, a guy that I think can easily win a Heisman this year. You look at the rest of the rushing attack from both sides, and like I said, they don't have much behind Haynes at Michigan and Oklahoma. Not having Jay not going, which is really crazy. Only 4 carries in this game, so I don't know if that's injury based. He was supposed to be one of the big additions in the portal this year after a great season last year. And when they get him going, man, if they do, this offense only gets better, and they've looked pretty solid against a good Michigan defense. So, what's your opinion on this one?
Yeah, talking about John Mateer, he reminds me of a guy that used to wear the number 2, was really good over at Texas A&M because the dude can make plays everywhere. He's a Heisman kind of guy, the kind of guy that embraces that Heisman like he wants to be the best player in the field and shows that.
Yeah,
And also, when go look at the other quarterback on the other side of the ball, uh, he's a whole lot better than any quarterback they've had recently,
yeah,
in
yeah.
my opinion. So, like, it's still an upgrade, but he's a little bit lackluster compared to what they were hoping for.
Mhm.
But if he keeps growing, he's gonna turn this Michigan team around. In my opinion, I've got big hopes for this Michigan team. I don't like Michigan, but I feel like this team can be really good, especially in the Big Ten. I feel like they can if they figure things out, especially with Justice Haynes at running back.
Yeah.
I know Alabama misses that guy
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
much.
without Jam Miller playing in week one,
Yeah,
they had nothing going on the ground. And even
yeah,
you look at the crazy blowout they had in week two over the scrub they played. And again, they didn't really run the ball all that well. It was just they
no,
were able to throw the ball all over them because they just can't match the talent on the field. But again, it is going to be a worry for Alabama if they don't get things going on the ground because that is how they've played football. I mean, that was Nick Saban's game, was
yeah,
establishing the ground game and then beating you through the air. So they're going to have to
yeah,
figure that out. They would love to have Justice Haynes. You are not wrong. Going to
yes,
look at the receivers, of course, Donovan McCulley being the leader for Michigan. Solid game from him. You see really no production from anybody else. Part of that being the only 9 completions. Then Deion Burks being the leader on the other side for Oklahoma. 7 catches, 101 and a touchdown. Centennia does fumble in this game, so they do have a turnover there as well. But Oklahoma just able to control the game. You see pretty similar defensive statistics here. Both of these defenses are really good, so we expect that to be a close competition defensively. And just the better quarterback, the more experienced quarterback, and the better system was able to get it done here in Oklahoma. Moving on to our next game here, UCLA playing at UNLV. The Rebels are able to get it done 30-23, Dalton, and I'll just let you go off to start it right here.
yeah. I'm just gonna go and say it. Good job, Nico. uh, he made the excellent decision to go back home, and it's working out so well for him. 0-2. You flip that record around, you'd be the same. You'd be the opposite of Tennessee. I'm just saying. And he's the only reason he's everything on this team. Apparently, he talked about apparently his problem for leaving at Tennessee was he didn't have any wide receiver talent. I don't know why you went to UCLA. I'm just being honest because he's the running back, the quarterback. You have no offensive line. First, that's another one.
Yeah.
Uh, and I mean, I don't understand why he did it, but I know he's loving his decision now.
Yeah, this is rough. I mean,
Yeah,
this wasn't actually a horrible game from Nico. He did miss some throws here and there, and he had an
yeah.
interception, but he overall played pretty good. The interception was literally right
Wasn't his fault. Yeah,
at the end of the game. Yeah, it was a ball tipped up in the air.
yeah,
So again, he doesn't play bad in this one, but he played awful in the first game, and that kind of showed the instant lapse in judgment probably from him. But honestly, I saw some people talking about it, some Tennessee fans too, and they were more like not as much mad at him as like feeling bad, like sad for the kid or bad for the kid because it's like he
yeah,
got bad judgment from above. He got somebody telling him, "Hey man, you need to do this and do this and do this," and it
yeah,
was all too much in his head and it was just not a good decision. And you can see he still has talent, but I think Tennessee is happy with where they're at, and I think
yeah,
UCLA, truthfully, they would have liked to have had Aguilar, but I think they're okay with what they got in Nico because he's going to be there for another year for sure. Maybe they can build something around that, and if he starts looking better in their system, it is a more pro style system. That is a true statement. If he wanted to just leave because of the system, if that is his only argument, this is a pro style system. They don't play that at Tennessee. Their system is probably one of the most unique in football, where they line up with the
yeah,
wideouts as far out as you can go, and that is so they can run the ball better. It's not really a quarterback system; it's a running back system. And again, that works for Tennessee, and Nico didn't like it. So if that was the true only reason I could again hear out why he did it, but part of it was money, and that's been pretty much confirmed. And I think that comes from somebody above him, and I think that was a obviously poor decision with where he's at now, being 0-2 at UCLA. They have a really tough schedule that they'll have to end up playing in the Big Ten. So I doubt that they get things done this year. I truthfully don't think they're going to be all that good. I think if they are good, it's because of him. I mean, again, like you said, the talent really isn't here throughout the rest of the roster. Mikey Matthews was a hyped up guy before the season started. He hasn't done a ton through the first couple games. And then again, you see Gilmer there, 8 for 87. That was his lead receiver on the day. But it's not an impressive offense other than what Nico was able to do here and there. He did get them back in the game late, gave them a chance against UNLV. But again, on the other side for UNLV, another transfer quarterback that made a great decision, and Anthony Calandria, moving on to UNLV. And Dan Mullen truly has decided he's the full go at quarterback. Alex Orji not touching the field at all. I mean, he gets a carry here and there. And again, Anthony Calandria, he left out of UVA and said, "Hey man, I'm going. See ya. I'm gonna go down here and win some football games." Now 3-0, has a chance, probably the second best team in the group of five behind USF. And again, he's looked really good. I mean, 15 passes and three of them were touchdown passes, 203 yards. He gets his legs going again, 59 rushing yards through all three games. He's really established the ground game for them. This is the perfect quarterback for the system that they're running at UNLV. Jaden Thomas has another solid game. Didn't do anything crazy in this one like he did in the last two. And then you see some different receivers spreading the ball around. I mean, this is a lot of different guys catching passes in this offense. So again, UNLV looks really promising. I expect a lot out of them as the season goes on. Their defense looks okay in this one, 2 sacks, getting after Nico a little bit. And they do protect Calandria pretty well, only giving up two on their side. And overall, again, I'm very excited to see what Dan Mullen can do with this UNLV team because they've won two of their early games. This one being a rough one just because it's a Power Five school, and they're able to get it done. So we'll see what happens the rest of the year. But we're looking at a UNLV team that if they're 11-1 at the end of the year, there's gonna be a real conversation. USF definitely has the clear lead right now, but if they drop this Miami game and then lose a game in conference play somewhere, I think UNLV would jump up and be your favorite coming out of the Mountain West, which is obviously one of the most competitive Group of Five conferences. Moving over to our next game here, this one was sorry. It just was. Like first half, they played great football. They looked like the team that can win, but because of turnovers and because of consistent moving of the ball up and down the field, that's why Tech was up 20-10 at halftime. They played the first half exactly how you had to play the game if you wanted to be in it. Vanderbilt clearly out-toughed them, clearly out-strengthened them in this game, and truthfully, they out-talented them at times. That being a big issue because, again, Vanderbilt, obviously the SEC helps a ton. They do have a higher amount of money they can spend on their football team every year than Tech does, and that's not being at the top of the conference. That's being towards the middle and before last year, always at the bottom. So with that much money, you have to be able to play better football in your home stadium and defend your turf, and they don't. Tech plays bad football in the second half, and it's not just bad. It was disgusting. It was ugly. That was probably some of the worst football I've seen them play. A lot of people are comparing it to the 2019 Duke game where we got smoked by a not-so-good Duke team. This is a bad performance. You look at the statistics. Diego Pavia goes 12 for 18, 193, two touchdowns. Does have an interception. Quentin Reddish getting his first in a Tech uniform. Really nice interception for him. And this is the part of the game that they just dominated us in. They were able to run the ball whenever they wanted for however many yards they wanted. Macklin Young goes 8 for 95, averaging 11, almost 12 per carry and a touchdown. Cedric Alexander goes 10 for 73, averaging almost 7.5, two touchdowns. And Pavia gets going 61 yards on the ground and 5.5 per carry. That just can't happen. They dominated us on the run game, and that is because of the play for our linebackers. That is the one thing I'll harp on completely. I will give no, I'm not even going to relax on him a little bit. Jaden Keller played awful. He played awful last week. He played awful this week. He graded out as one of the poorest PFF performers on Virginia Tech's football team. And again, they have to be able to hear this, and they aren't going to see this. But hopefully the rest of the country gets to them a little bit because the way they're playing is completely unacceptable at the linebacker position. They don't fill gaps. There was one play where I was, sitting in the student section, of course, and I told Jake, who was sitting beside me, I said, watch Jaden Keller on this play. If he doesn't run fit, you'll know why they bust this off for a big gain. Jaden Keller runs outside, sprints to the tackle. Where do they go? Right up the middle, 63-yard run. That was the longer 62-yard run by Young. Just ran out of the way, made himself completely out of the the place to make a play, and so he takes himself out of situations where he could be a big time spot and ruins it for the rest of the team. Those positions you have to make plays there. We couldn't stay in any kind of zone coverage because that's when they just ran it down our throat. If we switched over to man, they had some incredible catches by a couple guys, able to score a touchdown on one of them, but just making crazy catches on the outside. We kind of shut down Stowers. I mean, he had the touchdown at the very end of the game, but we shut him down. It was more the other guys getting going and making big plays. And overall, just not the performance you have to have. You look at Tech stats, Drones doesn't play a horrible game, but he doesn't do anything special in this one. You need him to be special to be a good team this year. Doesn't make the terrible decisions, but some of that become kind of obvious that he was limiting the big plays. He was kind of scared to make the big plays because of the two interceptions last week. You look at the run game, we don't do anything in the run game at all. Coney has a couple nice carries late in the game, but Hawkins didn't really get going, and Terrion Stewart clearly ain't ready. He only has 3 carries. Supposed to be our lead back, and he's not there. Drones did get going in the rush attack. With this statistic is lying to you when you look at 36 yards because of how many times he was sacked. He actually looked really good in the run game. Pulled it for a couple big gains, had some nice carries, had a touchdown. So he actually did look good on the ground. He got things going a little bit there. This is why I think we can still end up winning 6 games this year because there's positives and there is some things that if they get healthy, they could be better in the run game. But it just worries you with how they played in the second half. I mean, 34 unanswered points. That's what the second half was. 34 unanswered. I mean, that is probably one of the worst statistics you ever hear in any game, any game in general. Look at the receivers again. Tech Tucker Holloway being the leader on a really nice throw from Drones is what created this play, and the rest of them don't do much. And I just don't think we used them enough either. We didn't do much in the passing game. Didn't really let quarterback make plays. Didn't throw the ball down the field, but a couple times, and when we did, it worked. So a lot of problems, a lot of issues. Dalton, anything you want to share on this one?
Yeah, I was very intrigued at this game. I mean, I don't really say so-called root for Tech, but they're close, so I
Yeah,
watch them every once in a while. And I know you love Virginia Tech, and I go to a lot of Tech games.
yeah,
But I was watching this game, and I don't like Vanderbilt, so obviously I was rooting for Virginia Tech here. And it was 20-10 at halftime. I'm like, wow, Tech's actually going to pull through and win this
they're
game like
playing
they were
pretty good.
supposed to. And maybe Lane Stadium might do something there. And then it just kept going down, and I mean, it was ridiculous. It was gone, it was gone.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like it's I don't know. I guess I don't know how old the stadium was, but I'm sure the momentum when it was gone, it was gone.
Oh yeah, it left.
Yeah,
You lost your fan base too.
yeah,
They gave up after the first touchdown. Everybody was like, "We expected that." They'd come out
yeah,
of
yeah. They're going to come out
go in,
fired a
they
little
get
bit. That
steam the
happens.
possession.
Yeah,
When you get to draw up a possession and have a
yeah.
script, usually
You
50.
should score. You should score.
I mean, yeah, 9 times out of 10,
Yeah,
you're putting up at least 3 points just because
yeah.
it's going to work because you have a script that you're playing off of. After that, when we come out and we get the ball back, after that, we get to a 4th and inches on, I think it was maybe our own 40, and that's obviously risky to go for it, but you needed momentum at that point. You have a 6'3", 225-pound
And
quarterback.
that's why you got to sneak. Give
You
a
be
little
sneaky,
sneak
get
right
a
there.
first down, and get some momentum back. What that would
Yeah,
do to rejuvenate the offense, rejuvenate the team in general. That was the moment that, and it's been Pry's thing, is he just plays scared. And some of it is because he is criticized so heavily because he loses so many one-score games. Half the time it's not on him. Half the time it was poor management and stuff like that. This is bad play by the players. It is terrible discipline. A lot of mistakes on the defense. It wasn't even penalties. It was just mistakes. Stupid decisions cost them a lot in this one. You go look at the statistics on defense. This is another big issue. We got after them none. We got no sacks, only 2 TFLs. And I will say Vanderbilt's scheme really leads to that happening. They don't run plays where they can really get sacked or really get a TFL. They are so good at just getting yards. They get 1 or 2, get 2 or 3, and they just build on it. They are so good that if they're ahead of the sticks, they are extremely difficult to stop. Pavia, every time he throws a pass, it's him rolling out. So you're not sacking him because if he has you coming at him, he just dumps it out of bounds and goes to the next play. So their scheme is incredible to stay ahead of the sticks. And when they are ahead of the sticks, this is a scary football team. I think they can compete with South Carolina. We beat South Carolina, or we played South Carolina well for a half. We played this team well for a half. Second half, we still played South Carolina well. Second half here, we got blown out in Lane Stadium, which was packed, and it was all Tech fans. Vanderbilt don't have tons of fans. Again, it was pretty loud. It caused some issues for Vanderbilt early, but they got settled in, and Tech they kind of stopped. They stopped playing, and that cost them big time. I did see some promising performances. Backup linebacker Michael Short comes in and plays pretty well. If it was me, I'd start him. He would be my starter. I think I would start him and Caleb Woodson. I wouldn't start Jaden Keller. I'd have Keller with the ability to rotate in, but the way he's playing, he just doesn't deserve to start right now. Then you go down the rest of the list. Isaiah Cash clearly should have been a day one starter. Starts again or plays in this one. Played pretty well. And then some of our defensive linemen that I expect to play well played well. But you just don't get enough out of this team. I will say this is your Luke Rosa Award winner right here in John Love. This is the single best kicker in college football. He's now 5 for 5 with the 56-yarder. He is incredible. He is. I mean, there really is no doubt he can be that good of a kicker in college football. So you have that weapon, but that's about it. He scored what 8 points this week and 9 of our 11 last week. So far he's been our leading scorer by a by a wide margin. So again, this dude's legit, but I don't know what we're gonna get the rest of the year. And they have to have two unreal blowouts the next 2 weeks if they want to have fans showing back up to the games. So ODU, actually a pretty good group of five team. You go out and beat them by 30, the fan base might get back on board with you. And they just have to figure out a way to win these. They can't win the important close games. Going into this next one, of course, I'll cover ETSU real quick just to start it and let Dalton do his thing on some obviously lovely scoring for Tennessee here. They did this last year, if you remember, early in the season too, and their offense looked incredible. So if they can keep this going, this is an unreal team. It is. They have a defense, man. They have a legit defense. It's just they have to keep the scoring going. So hopefully for y'all and for this team, this keeps up. Not you're not going to score 72 again this year.
No, no.
But you have a really high powered offense. You scored 46 week one. So that is in there. It's just keep it. Keep it all year because last year they lost it at some point. There was a transition from how high powered their offense was and it got low power. It didn't score a lot. And their defense kept them in games and they won a lot and they made the playoffs. But when they got there, it just showed that the offense wasn't there. And I'm going to let you go in on the good, positive side of things. But I had to give you the negative because of last year. You saw this exact same
Yep.
result to start the season. I think it may have been 70 points. They
It
dropped.
was. No, this is actually a Tennessee record here for 72
I know, but
points.
I don't think they
Yeah.
scored. I was saying they scored like six. They scored seven.
Oh yeah, we scored a whole bunch against NC State, and then I can't remember who we played
Yeah,
next, but we smoked them
yeah,
too.
that's what I'm saying. It's like you
Yeah.
saw this exact same result the first 2 weeks of last season. They blew out NC State in
Yep.
the early game, and then they won big in the week two game. So they
Yep.
just have to keep this going. But I think, from just outside looking in, not a fan of the team, that they do look better offensively. They
Yes.
look like they have more options. It's not
Yeah.
just
It's
hand
not Dylan Sampson.
time. Exactly.
Yeah.
They have quarterback play
Yeah.
that is not necessarily 10 levels better than Nico. I don't think he's overall more talented, but
I
he
think they're at the same level with just how they play.
exactly he fits their scheme
Yeah.
perfect. He does what
Yeah.
you need him to do, and he isn't going to make a ton of mistakes. That's the other key thing with him.
Yeah.
He's not super risky in his passing game, which will help them keeping the ball in their possession. But to talk about ETSU quickly, this isn't a horrible FCS team. They lost their coach, that being the biggest loss. That will end up hurting them a lot. He goes on to Tulsa to be a head coach. So he skips over being a high level FCS coach and goes immediately into the
And
FBS.
he's crazy young too, by the
Yeah,
way.
he
Like
is. He's
crazy
super
young.
young.
He's
Trey
the
Lamb.
youngest coach in college football, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Trey Lamb is his name.
Yeah.
Played. So again, they lose that. This really hurts this team. Cade McNamara being the quarterback, of course, an FBS Division One power transfer plays for them. They did a really weird thing early in this game, which I think cost them and made them look even worse. And that was they were playing both McNamara and Criswell, the UNC transfer and the Iowa transfer. Uh, Odd decision. You can't get a quarterback going. You can't get a rhythm going when you play both guys. And is Tennessee the team you want to experiment against? Not really. You'd think you'd want to do that against one of your
Yeah.
level opponents, like an early game like they did last week, but they didn't let Criswell play. So obviously the rushing attack it didn't get going. I mean this was probably against Tennessee's third stringers. And then the receiving game, once again, when they're only throwing for like 150 yards, you're not going to have much of a receiving game. And they only get the three TFLs, obviously getting no pressures. Dalton, I'll just let you rip on this Tennessee team as they scored, like you said,
Yeah.
school high 72 points.
Yeah, this was a blowout. Obviously, they're playing ETSU, and I mean, we the starters left after. I mean, I think even that it might have been in the first half that we took the starters out and let our second and third strings play, and they both looked good too. Jake Merlinger, and George McIntyre both looked excellent too. And I love the thing we're doing with our backfield with three running backs, actually four running backs, because Peyton Lewis is actually truly our third string running
Yeah,
back,
he is. Yeah.
and he just didn't get to get rolling like everybody else did, which is kind of upsetting. But Star Thomas, I love to talk about that guy. Duke transfer. He's found the end zone, but he found the end zone in the first game as a receiving touchdown, and I'm excited to watch him play even more for the rest of the year. And Deshaun Bishop, he's a stud. Three carries for 68 yards. That's nuts.
Breaks off of
Uh,
it.
Chris Brazzell had a nuts game.
Yeah.
Uh, it just was just a blowout. Obviously, so did Mike Matthews, and I'm excited for this week. Very very excited for this week.
Yeah. And obviously,
Yeah.
we'll be talking about that one when we get our pick,
Yes.
which should be coming out on Thursday. That's the plan. So
Yes.
again, be looking forward to that when we release the pick 'em. But these statistics here again are very promising. Like you said, they have the three back system in Thomas, Bishop, and Peyton Lewis. Peyton Lewis got going more last week.
Yeah.
Dwayne Morris, he more played in the second and third string.
Yeah.
That's why he ends up on here with the statistics he has. But you see Star Thomas found the end zone three times on the ground, like you said, once in the air, receiving last week. You see Lewis did find the end zone, didn't really establish much in his other carries. And then Bishop is that, you're not going to necessarily call Star Thomas thunder. He isn't thunder like Dylan Sampson, but
Yeah.
Bishop is definitely lightning because
Yeah.
he definitely makes those plays and has those big play
Yep.
capabilities that can break stuff off and just create explosives. And in college football, the explosives is what wins you games. That either
Yep.
being turnovers, big pass plays, breaking off huge runs, muffing a punt or forcing a punt block. The explosives, the big plays. Bishop can definitely create that for Tennessee. Like you said, you look at the receiving game. Brazel, Matthews, Staley, Kittlesman, all going to be important pieces of this year's roster. All have to be difference makers because they are replacing talented receivers. Brew McCoy, of course, facing medical injury, ending his football career in general. Squirrel White going over to Florida State, where he looks like he's rebounded and kind of looks like the kind of guy he was supposed to be last year, facing his injuries, of course. And then Thornton hitting the league and going to the NFL. So you lost a lot of talent, but you were able to find pieces in a Staley, who had a great game last week, kind of a more tempered game this week, and Brazel, who should be the superstar for
Yep.
Tennessee offense moving forward. You look down at the defense, just to quickly break it down, they played, I don't know, what is that, 30 players touched the field on defense. So got a lot of experience for a lot of different guys, and they should be completely rested up and ready to go for this next week, which is going to be potentially the second biggest game all year because I know you care about Alabama just a little bit.
Yeah. I care about Alabama way more. Yeah.
But Georgia being number two
Yeah.
in this
Definitely.
and potentially the most important when it comes to where they stand in the SEC.
Yep. You win that game, you might be top 10.
Yeah, you
You
will.
actually you will
I
be
think
top
you
10.
will
Yeah.
be top 10. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're going to have a blowout win here, a blowout win week one, and then a
Yeah.
potential win over Georgia. That would put you at top of the board. Thank you all so much for joining us this week. Had a lot of fun talking about the games that took place in last week. Me and Dalton both picked our games pretty well. We both kind of inverted on some of our picks, and then ones we picked to upset like one for one and didn't win for the other. So I got the Illinois, and then he got the USF, and then we both picked Tech, and they sucked. So that was fun. But obviously, we got our picks pretty well. I think we were both over 500 this week, which is good, and get things rolling early on. But obviously, look forward to making these picks coming up on, like I said, probably Thursday, unless there's some really good Thursday games. I'm going to look over the schedule and see if I want to release it late Wednesday or maybe early Thursday potentially. But look for that video coming soon. Obviously, we'll cover those games. Dalton, I'll let you talk a little bit here in this one for you.
Yeah. I'm just excited for this week of football. It's probably the second biggest week of college football for me, and hopefully, I'm trying to look for some tickets right now. They're very, very ridiculous. I got a
Yeah.
buddy looking for them, trying to put me on with them, and I would love to be at that game. That would be amazing. But I'm not paying $700 to sit in the nosebleeds.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's not worth it. Definitely. It'd be fun, but yeah, like you said, sitting in the nosebleeds does just suck. You can't really see the game all that well. The environment would be cool, but like you said, it's too expensive to pay $300 to sit in the nosebleed. The trick is always wait to the last second. You're
Yeah.
gonna
I think I'm still going to go down and see College Game Day, though. I'm pretty positive I'm still
Yeah,
going
game
to.
day will be really cool. They're
Yeah.
gonna have that there. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
It's gonna be wild to see how McAfee plays into the crowd.
Yeah.
course, that's going to be. I don't know. Has they haven't had one there yet with him, right? On the.
We did no, we haven't because we was in Oklahoma. No, we haven't had one there yet. No,
I don't think so. So
I did meet Pat McAfee at
yeah,
the
yeah.
Ohio State Tennessee game. Maybe I can meet him again. That'd be
Maybe you can
nice.
meet him again and have a better result in the game
Yeah,
that
yeah,
takes place
yeah.
after meeting it.
Don't want to compare those games.
Maybe we can get Dalton out there long snapping for whoever comes out and kicks the field.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe give him a part of the money. But
yeah. That'd be nice.
yeah, obviously, again, thank you guys so much for joining us. Like, comment, subscribe, follow along, helps a ton. And again, we'll be joining you guys soon. Peace.
Peace.